If you ever thought the royal family had moved past drama, secrets, and jaw-dropping moments that leave the world guessing, well, think again. Because just when the dust seemed to settle, another bombshell hit the monarchy, one that sent shockwaves from Buckingham Palace all the way to Montecito. Picture this: an oak-paneled room inside Windsor Castle, a heavy hush in the air, senior royals seated around a long polished table. An envelope sealed in crimson wax, stamped with the late Queen's insignia. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. And at the center of it all, Princess Anne, stoic, unblinking, holding the Queen's final instructions, a will the public would never fully see. But the part that was revealed? Let's just say it rattled the family tree more violently than any palace earthquake in recent history. How do Harry and Meghan react when the one thing they hoped for, the final sign of inclusion, forgiveness, or even closure, slips from their fingers in one devastating sentence? And what exactly is this mysterious, confidential family archive left exclusively to Prince William? You're about to find out. Let's dive deep into this fictional royal firestorm, with humor, gripping storytelling, and slow-burn suspense designed to keep you hooked from one section to the next. Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt like something was off? Multiply that by 10,000, and you'd get the atmosphere in Windsor Castle that morning. Senior royals gathered early. Even Charles, who generally dislikes early meetings unless they're absolutely necessary. Camilla watched quietly. Princess and sat with a composure that could calm a hurricane. Prince Edward arrived with his usual diplomatic smile. But two people weren't there: Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. They had chosen to remain in Montecito, according to sources, citing logistical challenges. Translation: nobody wanted a live reenactment of the Oprah interview inside Windsor Castle. Still, the absence hung in the air like unspoken tension. And then it happened. Princess Anne cleared her throat. She opened the envelope. A set of documents was gently unfolded. No theatrics, no dramatic soundtrack, just a rustle of crisp paper echoing through centuries of royal history. And the first line set the tone. This document is to be read in private and executed with discretion. Already, the room stiffened. Was it the Queen's famous one-liners? Her meticulous precision? Her emotional distance? No, it was the fact that what came next would not stay quiet for long. Because royal secrets never do. And you won't believe the first twist. Princess Anne began with the sentimental bequests. Family jewelry, personal letters, portraits, private collections. Pretty standard for a queen with decades of personal history. Kate received a sapphire brooch with a touching handwritten note. Charles was entrusted with personal diaries dating back to her childhood. Princess Anne herself inherited several beloved horses and private stable records. Everything seemed normal, until Anne reached the section titled Special Designated Archive, Confidential. Even Charles sat up straighter. This wasn't normal. The Queen had never labeled anything confidential in her family bequests before. And the next line? That's when the temperature in the room dropped several degrees. This confidential family archive is to be entrusted solely to Prince William and shall not be accessed, copied, or disclosed to any other family member without his explicit consent. A pause, a deeper silence. And then, as if her mind drifted to the unavoidable fallout, Princess Anne murmured, "Well, Harry won't like this." Understatement of the century. Because while William kept his expression still, other royals exchanged glances, understanding the magnitude but silently praying this wouldn't escalate into another media wildfire. Spoiler: it would. Because the question remained, what exactly was in that archive? And why, of all people, was Harry specifically excluded? Let's take a moment to imagine what's inside a confidential family archive handpicked by a monarch who reigned for 70 years. Family letters? Historical secrets? Unpublished memoirs? Political files? Personal reflections? Private conversations recorded over decades? Imagine the power, the influence, the emotional weight such an archive holds. Now imagine being Harry, once the Queen's beloved, cheeky grandson, and hearing that it exists. It's powerful, and you're completely cut out. This wasn't a matter of inheritance or wealth. This was legacy, identity, history. And for a man who felt the institution never protected him, Being excluded from this archive would feel like a final symbolic blow. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Because and had more to read. And the next line would send an even sharper tremor across the royal landscape. While the archive was shocking, this next part. This was the royal equivalent of dropping a microphone in a silent library. Princess, and continued. It is my wish that William safeguard the integrity of the monarchy, as he is best positioned to carry forward the family's historical and constitutional responsibilities. Translation. William, you're in charge. William, you're the protector. William, you're the chosen one. Harry was not mentioned, not even indirectly. In the room, there was quiet shifting of hands, a breath drawn a little too sharply, eyes blinking faster than usual. No one dared speak. But every mind in the room whispered the same question. What will happen when Harry finds out? And across the ocean, in Montecito, the answer was brewing. Let's switch locations for a moment. Montecito, California. Sunlight. Green lawns. A peaceful morning, until the phone rang. A staff member stepped into the living room, holding a tablet. Sir, you should see this. Harry looked, confused but curious. Meghan leaned forward. And there it was. The headline. Breaking. Princess and reads Queen's will. Prince William receives exclusive confidential archive. Harry blinked twice. Meghan's lips parted slightly. A visible silence settled in the room. You know that moment when someone hears something shocking but tries to maintain composure because other people are watching? That was Harry, except even he couldn't hide the sting. Only William, he muttered. Meghan quietly asked, Are you surprised? Harry swallowed. No, but I wish I were. The emotional complexity was thick. Harry wasn't jealous of wealth. He had money. He wasn't bitter about royal titles. He gave those up. He wasn't competing for prestige. He found a new life. But this was the family's inner world. Their secrets, their truths, their history, and the Queen had entrusted them to William alone. But why? And what did she want hidden or revealed? When the news hit social media, it spread like wildfire dipped in jet fuel. Some reactions were neutral, some confused, some empathetic, some vicious, but the overwhelming majority? Speculative. People asked, why exclude Harry? What's in the archive? Was this the Queen's final message about the future of the monarchy? Is William holding secret power now? Did the Queen distrust Harry after the interviews, Netflix series, and the memoir? Is this archive why Will seemed so confident lately? Theories soared, some logical, some outrageous, some entertainingly chaotic. But one thing was clear. This archive wasn't just a box of old letters. It was symbolic. A message. A transfer. And the implications were massive. But the real twist? We're just getting started. Because the Queen didn't stop there. After the initial shock, and unfolded a second document. Thinner. More intimate. This wasn't part of the formal will. This was a personal note. Handwritten by the Queen. Addressed specifically to Anne. Read this aloud. And hesitated. A rare moment for the most composed royal. And then she began. Families experience storms, disagreements, and misunderstandings. But time reveals the truth of character. The royals held their breath. Some bonds strengthen through hardship, others become fragile. A glance flew across the room. Unspoken, but definitely directed at the empty chairs meant for Harry. My wish is that William carries the weight of history with wisdom and integrity. The archive will guide him in moments when the family is divided. And paused again. This wasn't just an archive. It was guidance. It was responsibility. It was, depending on your interpretation, either a gift or a burden. And for the first time that morning, William's expression changed. He looked overwhelmed. Because this wasn't just about Harry. It was about the future. A future he alone was entrusted to shape. Back in Montecito, Meghan finally broke the silence. Harry. This changes everything. Or it confirms everything, he replied bitterly. But here's where the story shifts. Meghan wasn't emotional. She wasn't angry. She was strategic. What if the archive contains information that explains the Queen's decisions? She asked. Harry sat forward. What do you mean? Letters. Private conversations. Things we never knew. Harry hesitated. Meghan continued. What if it paints a picture that's different from what we thought? That's when the realization hit Harry. This wasn't just exclusion. This was narrative control. This was legacy management. This was, potentially, the monarchy's final, silent commentary on the rift. But would William ever share it? Would the truth ever come out? And if it did, whose reputation would rise, and whose would fall? Section 9. The Final Twist. Princess Anne's private conversation with William. After the reading, as the royals began filing out, Anne gently touched William's arm. "Stay a moment." They remained alone, and took a breath. One of those breaths people take moments before dropping a world-altering truth. "There's something you need to know," she said quietly. William frowned. "It's not written in the will," she added. "It's something she told me privately." William braced himself. "The archive doesn't just protect the monarchy. It protects you." Silence. And stepped closer. "Your grandmother feared you'd face challenges no monarch before you ever faced. Family division, public scrutiny, modern media, constant attacks." William swallowed and continued. "She believed Harry might one day regret leaving or lash out again. She didn't want him to have the tools to misinterpret the past." William stared at the table. Finally, he whispered. So she didn't trust him and didn't respond. She simply placed her hand on his shoulder. "It's not about trust," she said. "It's about preparation." But as William left the room, the weight of responsibility on his shoulders felt heavier than ever. And across the world, Harry felt the sting of an exclusion that seemed almost poetic, almost symbolic, almost inevitable. So what does this fictional royal drama really explore? Not just inheritance, not favoritism, not palace politics. It's about something much deeper. Legacy, identity, family dynamics, and the consequences of choices. Harry chose a new path. William inherited the old one. The Queen, in this fictional universe, made her feelings known, not with words, but with a box of history. And the biggest question now? What happens next? Will William ever reveal the archive's contents? Will Harry reach out, or retreat further? Will the rift widen, or slowly mend? Will Meghan push for clarity, or push for distance? And most importantly, what secrets lie inside the Queen's confidential archive?